Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're listening, Joe Davis, Southern New Hampshire University, CJ 300. We're in Module 6, almost the end of the line here, next to the last week before your final projects. We're going to talk about the video mini lecture for your research question, the last of the worksheets. Okay, the worksheet guidelines and rubric, pay attention to them. I'm going to walk you through them like always, but there are 5 steps to write this research question, okay? And we're going to see those in this presentation, but they're also available when you look at the guidelines and rubric where they are. They're also in one of the module overviews. And so there is a chance for you to see it in several different ways. And it is your final worksheet, as I said. So let's take a look at the actual guidelines rubric with some sample answers, replies that I filled in red like I did before for other worksheets, so you can take a look. Okay, here we go. This is the worksheet, and as you can see, I filled out parts of it in red for you. Pointed out to you that this is the sample paper. Please don't forget to put your name and our class number, CJ300 Q4429. All right, here's the prompt. You're going to have to develop a research question. You're going to have to write about the assumptions and the limitations of your research question. Then you're going to have to come up with the criminological theory and then data that you found in your research that will support your research question. You've done almost all of this work already. The writing of the research question probably should ring a bell from being in the module 5-2 discussion question, small group discussion, because that's where you practice to do that. Okay, when we look down here where it says the instructions, remember I said there are 5 steps, so here they are right here. You're going to start with your issue, what you learned from your literature analysis. Remember I said that's why that's going to be so important. Then you're going to ask yourself, what would more people like to know? What would you like to know more about the issue? Then you're going to translate that into a question. You're going to make sure that that question is answerable, that it is neither too broad nor too narrow in scope. The question must be dialed down to focus on specific elements to make the scope of your research practical. Okay, let me double check my notes here for just a second. You can find the same thing outlined in the Module 5 overview, okay, and also in the Module 5 discussion, small group discussion rubric. All right, so here is the actual worksheet. And the first thing is, what is your research question? And as you can see, it says, I'm trying to use that same one about the impact of domestic violence or interpersonal violence, intimate personal violence for children between the ages of 4 and 7, the impact on them in short or long term. So my research question turned into a question is, are children who are exposed to repeat violence during 4 to 7 years of age more likely in the short term to experience a wide variety of social adjustments and emotional difficulties? Okay, in blue I gave it to you that if you want help with that, there are 4 places you can find help on how to write this research question. The Module 6 video mini lecture, that's the one you're watching now, the one that I've recorded specially. You can also go to the Module 5 discussion video mini lecture, and if you start at 4 minutes and 54 seconds, I walk through this same process. You can go to the Module 5 small group discussion guidelines and rubric, or the Module 5 overview where the 5 steps are listed. Okay, now list the limitations, let me just let you see it all. List the assumptions, related to your research question. Okay, so for my example, I gave you 2 of those. There are 2 assumptions related to the population to be included in the research. The first is the parent or parents have reported their victim of intimate partner violence to the appropriate authorities. The second is that they are willing to participate and allow their children to participate in the research. Those are 2 assumptions. We assume they've reported to the authorities, otherwise we wouldn't know about the violence, and that they are willing to participate in a longitudinal study that could last several years. Okay, when we come down here to what are the limitations of your research question, there are at least 2 limitations to the population sample to be included. The first is the sampling accurately represents larger or the entire population. It may not. Okay, that could be one of the limitations, because when you just looked at the last one, the assumptions we made, there are people that could be a victim of IPV and not report it to the police. They have alternative methods of handling. Either they just don't report, or they're wealthy enough or have the connections enough to get a divorce or those sorts of things without going to the police. Okay. The next limitation is where's it started? The second limitation is the availability and stability of the population to participate in an 8-year longitudinal study. Remember, these are lower socioeconomic, less educated, living probably on food stamps, according to at least one research article that we're going to quote in a moment. And are they stable? Will they be around? Well, they may be there 5 years, 3 years, 10 years. But that is a limitation to our research question, okay? What's the criminological theory? It's the social disorganization theory, because that attributes the motivations behind criminal acts, in this case the IPV, the attacker, the suspect, to the surrounding environment conditions and a disruption of community and social organization. It theorizes that lower income communities suffer from several stressors, including economic constraints. Why and how is it closely related to your research question? Because the choice of social disorganization theory is supported by Holmes's research, specifically discussing economic stressors. The control variables reflect lower socioeconomic status, food stamp recipients, and additional stressors. All of this information has been research collected and written about prior to this assignment. So you're just analyzing, evaluating, and compiling the information that you've already, for the most part, researched. All right, we go to number 7. Identify some of the data, at least 3, no more than 4 data points. A data point would be a fact, a conclusion, or a finding. And you'll present in your final project from your 5 peer-reviewed articles and describe how that data is directly related to your research question. So my data point for this one example is, as hypothesized, children who were exposed to more frequent early exposure did not have significant different aggressive behavior problems initially than children who were never exposed, but over time aggressive behavior significantly differed. In other words, the more frequently children were exposed between birth and 3 years, the more aggressive behavior problems were exhibited 5 years and later. Okay, and there's my cite for it. How or why is this applicable to the research question? The results apply directly to and provide a partial answer to the research question. The question of short-term impacts is answered in the affirmative. Exposure to IPV at an early age significantly increases the possibility of aggressive behavior 5 years after exposure. However, the definition of short and long term becomes a key issue. So that would be something we would look at. And then for the rest of the assignments, you need to do at least 2 more and no more than 3 more. Okay. I hope that helps. I tried to walk you through it, give it to you in red. Of course, I'll make this available to you. Make sure you read and understand the guidelines and the rubric before you start. Okay, let's take a look at final deadlines and reminders. Module 6, that is this week's assignment. This worksheet is due by Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. in your time zone. Next week, week 7, module 7, your final project is due, okay, and that research paper is due Sunday at 11:59 in your time zone. Please let me know what I can do to help. We can talk on the phone, we can talk on Skype, we can text back and forth, we can exchange emails. I can't access your computer, but I can do what you're doing on mine to help you. Okay? Hope all this helps. Keep those cards and letters coming.